Morning, everybody. My question for you today was, have you been called? We're continuing along the same verses we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So now we're on Romans 8:30. For those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified. When God chooses us from eternity past, it starts a chain of events in our favor. This chain cannot be broken. Nothing can stop it. Have you felt his call? If you have, you can trust God to not only wipe your slate clean, but also mature you until he's ready to glorify you. Are you having trouble staying on track with your eating? Or maybe it's emotionally, or you're missing your quiet time? Ask God to help you take care of his temple today. Now, our recipe for today, and the last one for May, is a coleslaw wrap. And obviously there's a variety of ways you could do this, but I'm actually going to do this literally with cabbage on the exterior as well. So I have my organic head of cabbage, not a huge one. I don't want to have cabbage for the next 2 months. So I am going to start by pulling some of the leaves off. Once I rinse this off a bit, I'm going to pull off some of the outer leaves to use for wraps, whether now or next week. So let me start with that. Okay, and then I'm going to peel some of this back. And we'll actually can trim off some of the heavier part of the stem, make it a little easier to bend too. We will do that later after we make the coleslaw. I want to bend. It's curved so tight around this, it doesn't necessarily want to come off real easy. Obviously, a little bit bigger cabbage would be easier than this. So I will have a few holes in some of my leaves because it's just not wanting to come off of here real well. Actually, try to cut it off at the base here. Pull it from both directions. Slightly better. Okay, now we'll just go with that for pulling some big leaves off. Let me go ahead and pull this down so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Okay, so now I need a couple of cups of, and I you see that the knife is a little too small for doing this. So I'm going to start cutting real fine here. As we need 2 cups of cabbage here. And of course, you can also get some pre-shredded cabbage as well, but since I was getting whole heads for having the outer leaves, it made sense to go ahead and use the whole cabbage. Let's see. Doesn't take a massive amount of coleslaw to do this since we're putting them inside. We do have kind of some space limitations here, so. Just sit those down in there. Cups. Cut some of this up a little smaller in there. Some of this being outer, I'm cutting it up a little finer. It's in bigger pieces. And that's looking pretty good. The last of this here. Okay, so there's our cabbage. All right, and then to the cabbage, I'm going to add a stalk of celery, organic. And the fun part of cutting celery is actually making sure you actually get all the way through. I have a bunch of strings hanging out. Right. And the end here is a little wider, so I can cut it down a little bit smaller. Throw that on top. And then I'm going to add a quarter of an organic English cucumber. And to make this easier to cut, I'm actually going to just cut it lengthwise a couple times here so that it's in quarters of circles. Come back here. Half the cucumber. And obviously this is enough for 2 or 3 meals, or wraps, I should say. Just depending on how big your cabbage leaves are and how big you want your wraps. Now, I'm a fan of using Persian cucumbers as well, but right now it's cheaper to get English cucumbers, so go with what's available and in season. Just kind of mixing that in slightly. Okay, and that is our main veggies mixed together. I'm going to take another bowl and combine this in first, I think. And I'm going to do a tablespoon of lemon juice, organic, Okay, so we got a tablespoon of lemon. Get down on this. Good, because it needs to get used up anyway. And a quarter of a cup of mayo. Let me get a spoon to get this out of here. And I'm using avocado oil mayo. Put that into our lemon juice. And then about a half teaspoon of lemon thyme. Getting down on that, but my plant is a little small and not putting out a lot of greens right now. I think they're getting a little too warm in their pot and probably need a little bit bigger pot. I had a lime thyme and it's decided to give up the ghost. So I think I need to repot in a bigger pot, especially as we start, getting into the summer, peak summer, which luckily hasn't hit yet. Normally it would have here in Tucson. So trying to keep my herbs going through the, obviously make liberal use of shade. And you pick things that are pretty hardy. And of course, thyme normally comes from a Mediterranean region, which is pretty hot and dry. So it's a similar kind of climate. I mean, I've got rosemary. It's actually doing quite well. Of course, it's in a bigger pot. Okay, so that means their coleslaw is made. You can keep for several days in that. So I pull out a container that I'm going to make a salad in. I mean, our wrap, I should say. Okay, which leaf one do I want to use today? Yeah. Rinse it off a little more here. And then let me just cut a little wedge, take out some of the bulk of the harder area. And scoop out coleslaw. Obviously, the finer your cabbage slices are, the easier this is to dish. And it's always nice on coleslaw to have some, acid. In this case, we're using lemon to kind of break down the cabbage a bit. So that's why you would not eat this fresh. You just made it. Usually you wait a couple hours before eating. Okay, bring in pre-filter. All right, and I'm also going to add some assuming it wants to open, of course. I already cooked some ground turkey and chilled it to add into this so that we have a little protein. Put it in there while it was still hot, so it sealed it up real good. So I'm just, since I'm making up only one wrap here, I'm just going to put a little bit of it in there, and I'll put more in next time. Seal that back up. And wrap it up a little bit. Obviously, the bigger your cabbage leaves, the easier this works. But that is it in a nutshell. And this will probably make 2 to 3 cabbage rolls. I'm just making up the coleslaw cabbage wrap right now. And that's your recipe for today. I will see you again next week with another verse and another recipe. See you then.